But first to Australia's Greta Thunberg. Grace Tame, the woman honoured with the title of Australian of the Year, who has now become infamous for leading this chant at an anti-Israeli rally in Sydney earlier in the week.
From Gadigal to Gaza, globalise the Intifada. One more time. From Gadigal to Gaza, globalise the Intifada.
Wow, yes, charming work there from Disgrace Tame, as she's now known. Her radical left agenda should surprise no one who has been paying attention to her antics since she was named Australian of the Year back in 2021. Sure, some of the early activism had merit, but there is no defence for screaming from Gadigal to Gaza, globalised Intifada, like an unhinged banshee during a violent protest where 10 police officers were hurt in violent clashes. Now, Grace Tame's chant amounts to a call for violence, for that is what an intifada is and has been for decades. Even by the modern left's low standards, it takes a special brand of degeneracy to call for an intifada in Sydney, or Gadigal, as moronic virtue signallers call it. It takes a special brand of degeneracy to call for an intifada as slain Jews are being mourned after the Bondi terror attack, an episode which would accurately be described as globalising the intifada. And that's precisely how Douglas Murray sees that chant. This is what he told me on the Rita Panahi show about that disgraceful incident.
We saw what that globalizing of the Intifada means in Sydney. It means massacring people on Bondi Beach, specifically targeting Jews and shooting them, including children and elderly women, on Bondi Beach in Sydney. So there is this isn't metaphor anymore. It's not some kind of, parable or something. That's what she's calling for, knowingly. She's saying, let's have more of the shooting of young girls and elderly people and anyone that can be shot. I have to say, I'm pretty startled. It takes quite a lot to shock me these days, but I'm pretty amazed that just weeks after the blood was on the sand of Bondi Beach, you have somebody, let alone who's been honoured by Australia, actually calling for much more blood to be spilt. Of course, people like this always want a lot of blood to be spilt so long as it's not their own. But I suppose Miss Tame just has to hope that the next gunman who comes along and starts massacring Australians misses her and her loved ones. I wonder if she thought any of that through.
Now, Grace Tame has defended her antics and claims she is not advocating for violence or anti-Semitism or hatred of any kind. And she feels it's sinister that people, including MPs, are calling for her to be stripped of her Australian of the Year title. And yes, what we have seen from her, and not just this week, is not exactly behaviour befitting a woman given that high honour. But for years, the Australian of the Year has been politicised and bestowed upon leftist activists, from footballer Adam Goodes, who told Australians to remember whose land you're on, to David Morrison, who scolded his countrymen for using gendered terms like guys. Grace Tame's brand of politics was also evident early. Who can forget this performance at an Australian of the Year event at the Lodge in 2022? Yes, note the side-eye theatrics there for the cameras. Tame's rude behaviour moved then First Lady Jenny Morrison to speak out about the importance of manners and respect. But I'm going to say something now that will displease many of our viewers. I don't think Grace Tame should be stripped of her Australian of the Year title, not unless she's charged and convicted of a serious criminal offence. I understand people are deeply unhappy with her having this award, but the blame lies with those who bestow our highest honour on leftist activists. Grace Tame certainly isn't the first, and she won't be the last to be named Australian of the Year for engaging in divisive political posturing.